Yo, what's up? Lord Swine here, and today we're doing a buff or nerf tier list for the game. The game's been out now for over 3 months, and they said, I think with Vayne, the next DLC character, they're going to be doing a balance patch upgrade to the game. So, what better time to kind of compile all the characters in a tier list and then work out what we think needs to be adjusted in the game. So solely saying this now, this is going to be my opinion on where I think characters are and where I think that characters are need to be treated or not treated. So always write down in the comments below. Just tell me if you think I'm wrong, or if you think I'm right, or what you would do different, and we can have a bit of a discussion and go from there. So the first thing we need to do is name the tiers. So I'll do that now. Okay, so these are going to be my tiers for today. We got emergency nerf, we got slight nerf, perfectly fine, slight buff, and send help please. Actually, hang on, I'm going to need one more in this one actually. I'm going to need one for I don't know, because to be honest, even though I've played most of the characters now in the game and I have played a lot of them, there's still I might not to be sure about, so I do want to have one just for that. So that one will be question mark, question mark, question mark, because I really don't know. So last time I did a tier list, I listed them off one by one, and then I just decided, oh, this is where they're all going to go and stuff, just as I went along. But this time I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to do the tier list, and then I'm going to go through the tier list, and then if I feel like I need to elaborate on a reason why, I will go into the game, and I will show you what I mean. And as for other characters, I'll just try and explain my best without using the game, but we'll just see how it goes as we go along. So I'm going to do the tier list now, and let's do this. Alright, so this is going to be my completed list. I've got two in question mark, question mark. So I just wanted to sort of press friends them. I would put more in there. I was thinking about putting more into question mark, question mark, question mark. Like Percival, for example, which I'll get to in a moment. A lot of people don't think he's too great. They don't think highly of him. I don't know too much about Percival because I've not faced too many Percivals. The one thing I know about Percival, which I'll get into, is about how he relies on his level charge to get up and become more strong. But I don't know too much about how the mechanic works, so I can't I can't elaborate on it too much. So he could be in question mark, question mark, question mark, but I understand a little bit more about him than I do about Uno and Grimnir. All right, so I'll get into that. And perfectly fine, which I got characters listed there. That's where I think every character in the game needs to be. So I think every character needs to kind of fall into that line. So I'll work my way from the bottom and go to the top, and I'll just go that way. So I'm going to start with Grimnir because Grimnir's right there. I did do a load of labbing against Grimnir when I did my how to beat Grimnir guide. But honestly, I do not know too much about what makes this character tick. I think this character is very strong, but I think because you don't see too many of them, it's very hard to kind of ascertain where they might fall on a tier list. So I think because they have more time to develop as a character over time, I think that would be a good reason as to like let them rock for now, and I'm not too sure where they might land. So I haven't got too much to say about these two characters in particular, so I'm just going to keep it quite short when it comes to Grimnir and Uno. And as for Uno, it's very similar. Uno even less. I think you see Uno even less than Grimnir. So I'm gonna say I don't know where I'd put them either. If you want my honest opinion, I think that probably they'd be both in perfectly fine, but not knowing too much, I feel like it'd be dishonest to put them anywhere other than there. So I'm gonna leave them in question mark, question mark, question mark just for now. And if you guys in the comments have any kind of other idea of where you feel they might go, then please do say. But for now, I think I'm gonna try leave it there. Things I know about Uno, for example. I know he's more of a parry style character, so I know his defense is quite unique. I know he has a 6-frame mashing button, 5L instead of a 5-frame, so it makes mashing out on defense a little bit harder, so he has to rely on his parries. So that could be kind of a weakness, but because I don't know much about the character, I don't want to say too much. Like I know from when I played him a little bit, his frame data is very good. From what I experienced, so he doesn't have that kind of an issue. Like his frame data on his special moves specifically, like his whirlwind thingy, it's very safe. I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah, I think these two characters they could go either way. I see some people say Grimnir is very good, and I don't disagree with them, but I don't know enough. So anyway, I'm gonna get to send help. As you may have noticed, Percival and Ladiva, they might be not a surprise for a lot of people. Like I said, a lot of people say Percival is trash tier. I think this character has really good normals, so I think their normals are not an issue. And I know they rely a lot on their cooldown, their charge level meter thing. So I think there's 5 levels. This is one character I have not explored enough, to be quite honest with you. But I saw some stuff online about how they were talking. He requires the levels to get stronger, but every time he uses a level, because the introductions of ultimate skills into the game, it's very easy to counter in full screen. So if I was going to suggest something, maybe they could reduce the recovery on his charge. But then again, this is coming from someone who doesn't know too much about the character, so I'm going off kind of what I've seen and the fact that I don't see too many. So it might be. This character also used to be one of the best characters in the original game because of how the original game worked. So it's interesting to see him on the other side of the spectrum. But moving on, I'm going to go to Anila. I'll be honest, I played a bit of Anila. I've seen a little bit of Anila. I think this character is really, really bad. I think they really need help. They really require on their sheep to kind of get anything done in the neutral. Their hop is incredibly reactable, so you can react to it very easily with a anti-air of any kind. So they have to utilize their sheep. So when I played her, it was the game plan was firing sheep, pestering the opponent from full screen, and then trying to force them into the corner, and then you get a kind of game going. Her sweep is really good. She's not all bad. Her sweep is one of the best sweeps in the entire game. Does have a lot of recovery, but it goes so far, so it doesn't really too matter. Her damage ain't too bad, but you have to get them into the corner to do that. Yeah, so I don't know what they could do for her, but I definitely think she needs some help. I don't think this character is that good. Personally, I think it's a lot of you have to let your opponent has to make a lot of mistakes for you to capitalize on it with Anila, and there's no real dirt you can kind of get on people other than her super sheep move. The ultimate sheep dash. That's really good, but she has to have 50 meter for that, and it's not so good that it makes the character any better than she is. So I think she definitely needs some help. As for Ladiva, this is another character I don't know a hell of a lot about, but every time I face Ladiva, as long as they're not in your face, I don't have too much trouble dealing with her. I can't really comment too much about how I would change Ladiva. But I do feel that they need to give us some help so that she can get up a bit. Grapplers always tend to be really good or really bad, and Ladiva seems to be one that's not so great. Her ultimate skill, where she charges against you, seems really good, but again, that's 50 meter. So her game plan would solely be around that, just so she could then get a strike throw. Because I'm pretty sure if the ultimate attack hits you, then it's a true 50-50. You have to guess between strike or throw at that point, but that's 50 meter that she could be using for other things. So maybe something that will help her close the gap a little bit better. I think that might be a good answer. But yeah, that's all I can really say about them. So we're going to go up and out, and these are characters I understand a little bit better, so I'll try and explain why I think they need a slight buff. So Avatar, I'm going to go Avatar real quickly. I think Avatar, one buff I would really give to this character. I'm going to pull over into the game now to kind of explain this. Alright, so we got Avatar here. Obviously, as you may know or may not know about Avatar, he uses moves, it costs him health. Right, that's his gimmick. He's a bit of a glass cannon, low health. He has these moves. He has a unique attack that cancels into things. It's called Pact. Yeah, Pact is literally the move that is it's like his unique attack. It costs a little bit more money to kind of costs a little bit more health to kind of activate. But the one thing I think they could do to change him is his ultimate skills. I think his ultimate skills are really good, but you can't cancel any of his ultimate skills into Pact. Oh, hang on a minute, I'll try to show you. So yeah, nothing cancels into Pact. So one thing I would change about his ultimate skills, I would give him the ability to cancel into Pact, which is because it also costs health. Or I would change the fact it even costs health, because this costs 50 meter and health. So I don't know if anyone sort of agrees with this, but I feel like the fact that his ultimate meter actually drains health and meter, and you can't cancel into Pact. While I think these are really good, like you can get good combos off some of these, I believe. So not that one, is it? This one? Yeah, you can do all that one, and the damage isn't too bad. I just still think like he's already having to spend so much, so I think like the fact that he's also on the low end of the health spectrum as well. I feel like a buff such as changing how much health he loses on say ultimate, or even just like literally just negating the health loss on ultimate skills would help him out greatly, because then he could like choose between spending meter or spending one of these moves, for example, that spends health. So he'd still be the meter management character he is, but he would have less, you know, he could prioritize using his meter over his health. You know, it might be like a good option rather than having to like lose health on both options. Because this character, if you don't know, like he does a lot of damage. Like that's like his main gimmick. I don't know many combos from Avatar, but you know, like he uses a lot of damage. Like he gets a lot of he does a lot of damage, but he also like sacrifices a lot of health to it. And if you drop the combo, because he's such a low health character, you practically like suffer for it the more than anything. So I think any way to kind of like preserve his health would be quite a good buff for him. Obviously, he has moves that don't cost any health, any of his lights or specials and stuff. So, but yeah, one buff I would give to Avatar would be if he uses ultimates, he wouldn't lose health, or give him the ability to cancel into Pact. That way, like if he does this, for example, he can cancel out and then say win the game off that, because he's already spending so much. But yeah, when it comes to Avatar, that's kind of like what I suggest. I don't think he needs too much buffs to his like buttons. He has the very similar buttons to standard Belia or Bilal. So this one's a bit different. He doesn't have his godlike 5H, but he has his really good 2M. So and he has his good 2L. So I don't think he needs any help in that regard. But I think it ultimately comes down to like how much you know, using the meter and then the health being drained as well. I think that might make a bit of a difference. But yeah, let's move on to the next character. Okay, oh wait, the next character, Zoe. Alright, Zoe, I think interesting thing, like, I saw a lot of people dooming about Zoe, saying Zoe's terrible, Zoe's bad, yada 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 yada. I don't think that Zoe is that bad. I think Zoe's really good. I think she's actually a lot stronger than people make her out to be, but there's one buff that I would actually give to Zoe, that I think would make a massive difference. At the beginning of the round, you start with 50 meter on Dragon. I actually would start the round with 100 meter. I think this would make a massive difference at the beginning of the game. You don't have to focus on leveling up the dragon meter to try and start messing with the opponent. So I actually think that would be a really good buff to Zoe in terms of like the beginning of the round, because you don't have to focus on building meter so much. So generally that is the only real change I would think to her right now. I think she has a lot more good stuff than people give her credit for. I think the dragon, all the dragon abilities are really good. I think the dragon ultimate attacks, I think dragon, train dragon, you know, the one where it goes flying down the screens, air unblockable. I think that's one of the best ultimate skills in the entire game. And because she mostly zones, she does build meter quite quickly from a distance, so it's not like she can't build that stuff quickly. But I think not having to focus on building dragon meter at the beginning of the match might actually help her out a little bit. But let me know what you think. But as for Zoe, I think that's all I'd really give to her personally at the moment. But yeah. Alright, Namaya, the character I main the most. Now, this might literally be like a, I don't know what the word is, like a bit, like, oh, I'm trying to help my own character, but there's one thing about Namaya. If you don't know much about Namaya, I'm going to show you in the game now. Right, yeah, okay, so I got Namaya here. If you don't know much about Namaya, right, every single one of her options on block is negative. Well, mostly, sorry. So, I'll explain. So, if you go into a block string, and I go into this projectile, this is the one you're going to use the most as Namaya. It's minus 12. So, if I get Namaya to kind of do this in the neutral, I'll show you what I mean. So, if I get Namaya to do her projectile, if she does it like right in your face, this is just a really bad example, but like if she does it right in your face, she's minus 12. So obviously Namaya in this example is 9. So if Namaya is not spacing this move out perfectly, she is minus 12. And some characters can get really good damage off this. I'll use 2B as an example. So you can get a better combo than that. But 2B's obviously, her 5M is 9 frames and this is minus 12. When she does it up close, she gets a lot of damage off this. Like, and she gets like she always get a punish. So in the original game, this move used to be really good for like kind of like stuff in the approach. Like Namaya's mid-screen game is not that good. So like if we go to like this in a block string, she has this option, right? She goes into this, or she goes into one of her medium ones. She can go into this teleport. She can go into this move. All these moves are incredibly unsafe. The only options Namaya has on block is this. She can go overhead. She can go overhead. She can go low. She can go into Matsuma, which is obviously the minus 12 move. She can go into this version of the move, which is the version. It leaves her plus 10. But the delay between these two moves aren't good enough to like kind of like warrant using it up close. This is a move you kind of use from this distance to kind of flame trap with this. So you go like this to kind of catch, but it doesn't do much damage. Or she can kind of do this move here, which will leave her plus, which is probably her most optimal choice in a block string. And if we go into this version, she has this, which is minus 5, this, which is minus 8. And this here, which is also minus 8, pushes her out a little bit. But the point I'm trying to get across here is everything Namaya does in a block string is completely like punishable. So this, you can anti-air it. Even if this crosses you, like this version, she can cross you up if she holds the over. Everything she does is like punishable. So Namaya has to like use staggers a lot more or stop. So the point I'm trying to get to in this whole thing, which I've gone on a bit of a tangent now, is one thing I would change about Namaya, because this move used to be so good. 6L exists now as well, this can punish this move. I would literally reduce the recovery on this move. I would make it like minus, I don't know, 7 or something like that. Just make it much harder to punish, because Namaya's mid-screen damage in itself isn't that great. Like, her whole game is to get you into the corner. Like, she's not going to be doing too much off of like this sequence. So she'd do something like this normally. This would be something. And while it's kind of annoying, this move still has like massive recovery. It's minus 55. Like, if you see her do this, you can jump right over. And it's the same for all of them. Like, they're all pretty bad in recovery. So we go this way. Let's go back a little bit and try and show you. It's minus 46, so that's also pretty awful, and this version's obviously the worst. Minus 59. So if she whiffs this, and this is the core stone of her like mid-screen pressure. Like without this, she kind of like suffers. So she has to be a lot more careful throwing this out, depending on how if she's like right up close with 2B, 2B can punish her, and it's like an absolute nightmare. Like when you're playing her in the mid screen, when you get in the corner, Namaya's great. But I do think that she suffers a lot in the mid-screen, mainly because this move is not as strong as it used to be in Vanilla. In Vanilla, this was like an absolute demon of a move. And I think it deserves to be, literally because of how much she gets in the mid-screen. Like, if I show you like a basic Namaya combo. Like, Namaya's mid-screen's like this. Like this, and then you get a meaty 6XL. So that's one example of a Namaya, or in the middle of the game combo. So if you're in this, it's exactly the same. You know, it doesn't change too much. You know, you're not getting big combos. You have to spend like a lot of resources in the corner. You know, and not mess it up like I did. But like, what I'm trying to say is like, Namaya has to spend resources, or she doesn't get too much damage in the mid screen. It's all about pushing people to the corner. So the fact that her main mid-screen button is very weak in this game, even like on hit, it's still minus. So it's like, obviously at the distance you use it, it's not too bad, but it's still not your turn. So like so if you stick out, some buttons will come out and counter poke you before. So I just think this move should be the thing they focus on the most with Namaya. And I genuinely think that's all she needs. I don't think she needs too much. I think she's a very strong character. I just think this is like they put 6XL in the game, but this move is still pretty weak in comparison. Or one thing they could do, they could like she can hold this, but maybe they could give it a cancel. You know, not just the medium, but they could give like all of them a cancel. You could hold all of them and give them a cancel, just to give the move some more like creativity flow, so you can bait things out more. Maybe that'll be the answer. But I definitely think if you're going to change the Maya, these are the moves you need to look at, because I think this is the bit of the screen that's the most annoying. It's a mid-screen game, but that's just my opinion as an Maya player. So let me know what you think. Okay, right. I'm just going to move on to Vasaraga. Right, I'm going to be honest. Don't know much about Vasaraga, but I faced a lot of Vasaraga. I think Vasaraga has a lot of good things. I think his fact that his command grab, ultimate command grab on Wake Up, pretty much just deletes everything, is absolutely ridiculous. But obviously, I know you can beat it with a cross up, but you have to call it out. But that is an example. So I think he's not completely useless. He has got a good range. I'll admit I don't know too much about him, so a lot of it could be like skill issues on my end. But I think Vasaraga needs a little bit of help, but I wouldn't know where to suggest to add the help. But yeah, Vasaraga is a character who I think needs a slight buff, personally. But not too much, because I think this is a character that could be super, really oppressive. Alright, Fairy. Moving on to Fairy quickly. Right, so when I did my original tier list, I thought that Fairy was like a very underrated character, and I still do think that Fairy is very underrated. But I think she has a few slight issues in this game, and it's mainly down to her anti-airs. She only has one air unblockable move, I think, which is her, other than her supers, obviously, she has her ultimate. Oh no, she has two. So she has her ultimate DP and she has her enhanced DP. But the ultimate DP is the only invincible one. And they're the only two air unblockable moves she has. And on top of that, her anti-airs are very bad. Like, her 2H is absolutely abysmal. It has so much recovery. It's like 40 frames recovery or something like that. And it has a very, very shallow hitbox. Like, it's like literally just the whip. So it's very hard to hit the opponent, and if you miss, then it's a nightmare. So you can anti-air with your close to your close medium. That's something that Fairy can do, but it's just tricky to kind of manage all the different anti-airs she has. So generally, one buff I would suggest for Fairy would be to improve the anti-air in some sense. I'd make the medium version of her anti-air series air unblockable. And I'd also increase the. I wouldn't make her and her 2H air unblockable because of how big it is. I reckon that would be really annoying to deal with, but I would increase the hitbox on it. So if an opponent was to jump past it, because it happens a lot, they just jump past the move and they manage to hit you on the head, I would make the move a little bit bigger so it catches people trying to press buttons as they jump over you, or maybe reduce the recovery just slightly. But that's what I would change for Fairy. I think that is when I played her for a brief bit. My main issue was dealing with people that jumped over me. I think that is what I would change about Fairy personally. But I think she's alright. I do think she's very good still. Her mix is amazing. But I think it is expensive to do her mix, but I still think that her main issue comes down to anti-airing more than anything. So that's the one thing I would kind of look at personally. Right, Luane. Luane is mostly just a gimmick character. I think when you kind of like start to figure this character out a little bit, they aren't too bad. Saying that though, I don't really know how I would buff them because they have to rely on their gimmicks to kind of win, or they run away a lot is another thing. Like they run away and they have their move which heals themselves, and they tend to frustrate the opponent. I think that's kind of like what they're trying to do. But like because of how their supers work, I think maybe they could do something to the supers to make them a little bit better. Like the supers are good. Like they're probably some of the best supers in the game, but like when you know how to deal with them, they are considerably weaker. So they're still like knowledge checks. But I don't know too much about Luane. So if you write something if you play Luane, tell me what you think he might need buff. But I definitely think Luane needs a change in that sense. Matera, this is another character I don't know a hell of a lot about. But every time I face Matera, I think they really struggle. I don't think zoning's that good in this game. I think the only character in this game who is good at zoning is Kag, and that's just the nature of how Kag works. I think Matera, I'm not sure, probably needs some buffs in terms of how her zoning works or something like that. But there is another character I have not explored a hell of a lot, so I can't give too much on it. But normally, when you don't see a character enough, when I face them, I don't feel too threatened by. I feel like maybe they could be. Maybe they need to speed up the hop a little bit. The hop's very slow. It's very easy to react to. Obviously, she focuses on zoning more, but I don't think her zoning's too bad. But I think maybe the hop could be a bit quicker. But yeah, I can't say too much about Matera. Alright, slight buff to Catalina. Alright, so I've been playing a bit Catalina lately, and my opinion on her has gone up drastically. I don't think she's that bad compared to how I used to think she was. However, I think if they were going to give a slight buff to Catalina, they could change her ultimate skills a little bit. One thing I think I would do, she has armor on her, I think it's a Lariat style ultimate. I reckon they could add armor to the projectile one as well, because when I was using it sometimes online, the idea is that you would take out other projectiles and then you get a slump, and then you can use your ultimate Lariat to get a combo, like you can go across like full screen and stuff. I think they could really just put the Argus shield armor on that as well. That would be like a nice quality of life thing they could do for it, so she could actually really deal with projectiles and be protected, not have to worry. Like she could like do it later and still catch them for doing projectiles. I think that would be quite a nice change they could give to her. As for her projectile, I think her standard projectile they could change. Her light and her medium are both -9. Some characters in the game, like Gran, for example, like he could end up safe on. I think it's his medium fireball. I think his light fireball is -7, so it's still quite unsafe. But they could make give her a safe button that doesn't cost her a full resource. Like she has to use her enhanced fireball to stay plus, which is good. But that's all she has, and then she would not have a fireball after a short amount of time. So maybe they could make the medium version safer, or the light version safer or something as well. I think that would be it. But I do think this character is much better than I originally thought. I think they're really good. Their range is very very nice. Their damage is amazing. Um, yeah, so look at the element skills, and then I'd say look at the projectiles. I think. Alright, so this will probably be the most easiest thing to go through, which is perfectly fine. I think all these characters are fine. I would not change a single thing about any of these characters. So Beelzebub, he has that unblockable move. Really annoying. I don't think it matters that much. I think it's fine. You can evade it. It's not too bad. It's bit of awareness is required, but I don't think the character needs to be nerfed or changed in any way. I don't think they're weak. I don't think they're strong. I just think they're fine. So I would not change him too much. Vera, I think Vera is really really good in this game. As another character, I would not do anything. I would not change her at all. I think she's actually much better than Vanilla. Her biggest issue in Vanilla was that she really struggled to get into Lumineer form because you have to rely on the grab more because it was harder to build meter to get the super going. But now with ultimate skills in the game and how fast you build meter, she gets into Lumineer stance much quicker. They could probably change the DP and Lumineer stance if they really wanted to, but I don't think they need to be honest with you. I think it's fine. It maybe increase the gap between. Maybe alright, we'll put her in slight nerf. We'll talk about her first. They could just literally increase the gap between the DP. If you've tried to learn how to beat the DP from Vera, you can evade the gap and get a punish. But if you evade it perfectly, it's like -6 or something, and you have to perfectly. It's very time perfect, so they could make that gap a little bit bigger, so that you could maybe just mash through. If you block the first part of the DP, I'm fine with it being -7 and pushing you out if you block it, but the fact that it's a little bit hard to punish, like it's still, even getting a super or a DP, you have to time it quite well. It's not the easiest thing to do, so that is one thing I would change about Vera. So I am moving her up just based on that because I forgot about the DP. So we'll go back to perfectly fine. Eustace, I think this character's fine, to be quite honest with you. I think they're a bit underrated, but I don't think they need a change. I don't think they need a nerf. I don't think they need a buff. I think they're very good. Their zoning is very strong. I think they're the second best zoner in the entire game. Obviously, Kag is number one when it comes to zoning. But yeah, I think Eustace is fine. I wouldn't suggest changing him. I think Yule is very good as well. I think she's very underexplored, so I wouldn't want to suggest changing her too much. I think she's a very good character. I think her stance is absolutely amazing, so I think that's one thing that with a bit of time it might come out a little bit more, but I don't think Yule's a character that needs changing that much, to be honest. Storez has gone up in my mind a lot. I like this character a lot more. I think they're a lot stronger. I also don't think they need a nerf though or a buff. I think they're perfectly fine. They have some really good stuff, like especially their ultimate tackle punch thing, which is like -4 and armors. It's very very good move. But yeah, I wouldn't change Storez. I think Storez is fine. Charlotta, another character that I think is okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with this character at all. She's very small, so she's hard to hit. She's quite annoying. She has obviously got quite good mental stack with her leap thingies, her leap moves that go. Like, you got the super, the throw, the overhead, and the low, and all that. It's all pretty good, and she's got her charge moves. Even though she hits you and stuff, and you block it, she's very good staying safe from a distance. So yeah, I can't think of anything I'd change about Charlotta personally. She seems very annoying when you first face her, but then when you get to know her a little bit more, it's not too bad. Gia and Gran, I'm going to talk about them together. I think these characters are fine. Gia has very good corner carry, but I don't think she needs a nerf. I think she's absolutely fine the way she is. Her ultimate skills are very good, but yeah, I just generally would not change her. I think she's a perfect character. I just think some really strong players are very good at pushing her to the limit, but I don't think that warrants a nerf. Gran, very similar to Gia. I think Gran's very strong, but I don't think he needs any buffs either. I think he's perfectly fine the way he is. I think he's a perfectly tuned character, if you ask me. So that is it, perfectly fine. Not too much more to say about those characters. To be honest, that is generally where I would leave. This is the line I think characters need to be at. Yeah, so moving on. Vera, we spoke about Vera, so I'm not going to go too much into how Vera works or what I think Vera needs to be, so I'll just move on. Siegfried, I think this character is absolutely amazing. I actually don't know how I would nerf them, but I would do something to them. I would do something to this character. I think he has a lot of options. Orkin's stance is very good. And he's very from Orkin's stance. He can kind of cover every avenue if he can read what you're going to do. I wouldn't want to nerf anything that kind of makes him unique as a character. But I think this character needs something, a little bit of a toning down to be fair. But then I'm not too sure what it could be. One thing I'm not going into in this into this tier list that I'm doing, I'm not talking about mechanics in the game like 6-6L. I'm not talking about bravery counter because I don't. I feel like that could be a separate video I kind of cover, because I think a lot of the characters I'm not too sure about, like Siegfried, and I'll get into Bilal in a second. I think Bilal's another one who kind of was. I think they really are strengthened by the fact that the 6-6L is such a good button. Like, especially these two characters, Siegfried's 6-6L and Bilal's 6-6L are very good. They feel much stronger. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because the hitbox are better, especially Siegfried. His hitbox for his 6-6L is much better. He's obviously his 2L and all that are very good as well, and his 5L far L is very good. So maybe I'll do another video in the future talking about the system mechanics, because I'm gonna be honest. If they're changing anything when Vayne comes out, because they said they were going to do some balance updates, I don't think that they'll be doing anything to the mechanics of the game, anything too drastic at least. But I think characters will get changes. But yeah, when it comes to these two characters, I think that the 6-6L would really limit them, help bring them down a little bit. Because I'll go on to Bilal now. Like I said, I think Bilal's really, really strong. But I don't think he's a very how do I say, OTT character in, say, like some of the top 4 in this game. But I think 6-6L and the system mechanics in this game really assist him a lot, which kind of brings him up a little bit more. Obviously, his damage is quite high. He's very easy to play. His parry's very good. So I think they could really think about how the 6-6L works. I think that would be some way to kind of tackle how he is as a character. But I don't know what I would change about him personally, because I wouldn't want to change too much to kind of affect the character himself, because I think he's fun. I've played him a bit, and I think he's a fine character. I just think that the system mechanics is what brings him up more than anything. Right, Kag. I think she needs a slight nerf, but this is nothing. I think that one of the biggest issues I have with Kag is that her traps stay on the screen when she blocks. And I think a lot of characters in the game, like Fairy for example, if she blocks while GG's out, then GG goes. And there's a lot of characters who have set play who lose their set play when they block. Obviously she doesn't. Grimnir doesn't lose his seals, which is another example. But just characters that have stuff on the screen that when they block, stuff like that goes. So the fact that she can leave a trap out and then block kind of strengthens how she is. That you have to play around the fact the trap's still on the screen. Sometimes you can literally put her in a block string while there's a trap on the screen, and then you have to cancel your block string because there's a trap. So you're constantly having to play around the traps. And I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to look now, and then I'm going to come back to the guide. But I don't know if you can cancel off of the traps, but I'll find out. So I just checked in the game. No, you can't cancel off her traps, which I think in some games when set play is in the game, just use Guilty Gear for example. When Jacko had minions on the screen, you could hit minions, and then you could cancel into special moves and stuff like that, and you could use that for your strategy. You can't do that with CAG. So when you essentially like punish her, get rid of her traps by pressing buttons, you literally are open to her spikes, like that's how she works, or her sweep, or something. She's waiting for you to press a button, and that's kind of the way it works. Maybe they could either have her when she blocks, her traps go, because I just think when you look at set play characters, when things stay on block, like I think that's kind of becomes a little bit annoying, like personally. Because I think she's still pretty strong even when they're on the screen. Even without this, even if she had to block, I still think she'd be a pretty strong character. I don't think this would bring her down too much, but I think it would make playing her around her a little bit hard, because you have to lock her down. Her teleport's also very good. They nerfed her recently in the last patch slightly, where she did her teleport in the air. She couldn't block till she was on the ground, I believe. I think that's the nerf. Zeta got a very similar nerf to her. But I feel that that would probably be something. There might be like a really big nerf, but I think that would be the fairest thing about the character to be changed. Because yeah, I just think everything else she has is really good. You know, a lot of people may not know her unique attack, which is the rock. She can use that to negate projectiles, which is good. Her anti-zoning is also really good with the spikes. The spikes are really good for anti-airing as well if she's jumping. This character is very good. She's just a little bit difficult to play. But yeah, so that's what I'd really do to CAG. I'd look at, their traps going away on block, or give them the ability to cancel off them, so that is harder for her to whiff punish you when you use them. But that would be what I look at. Alright, Zeta, the character I've been playing a little bit more now. She's a lot of fun, but I think she's very strong. Now, I think one thing that makes this character very strong, and it's very similar to a lot of characters in the game, how much damage ultimate skills do. So if they were going to if we're going to talk about like system mechanics and how ultimate skills do like buckets of damage, that's kind of what I would look at, in terms of how I would deal with Zeta. I think Zeta is very good in terms of how her neutral plays, how she can cancel into anything from her parry. I think her parry is really good, or armor parry. She can use it to hop in the neutral. However, I think one thing that makes her very strong is basically just her ultimate moves. She can anti-air bait with her ultimate move and then take 50% of your health. And I think it wouldn't be necessarily a nerf more to Zeta, but more of a nerf to how much damage ultimate skills do. It's a bit different to say, for example, Catalina has really good ultimate skill damage with her ultimate skills, but hers is more situational. Whereas baiting and anti-air is much easier, because it's something you're going to jumping in is something you might be doing a lot more as Zeta. So I think a lot of her strength comes down to damage. I don't think Pogo needs to be changed. That might be a shock to some people, but I think Pogo is a staple of her game plan. So I don't think it needs to be changed personally. They already nerfed it in the last patch. She can't block now during Pogo until she's on the ground, so you can DP for it much easier. So yeah, I wouldn't change Pogo personally, but I would look at her damage, because she can steal rounds very quickly, very easily. I think that generally is her biggest strength, how much damage she can put out on her ultimate skills. So yeah, that is what I would nerf to Zeta, or I wouldn't do too much. In terms of everything else, though. Okay, Lancelot. Now, I used to think this character was much stronger than they are. By the way, this isn't ordered. Just wanted to say this isn't an ordered tier list. I just threw everyone on the tier list. So I used to think he was much stronger up. My opinion on him has changed now a lot. after labbing him. I still think he's very strong. I think the mix is very good. But I don't know how I would nerf the character. But I think he does need slight changes. I just don't know what I would do to him. But I feel like I don't maybe like a damage nerf. I know it's kind of lazy, but he does get a good amount of damage off of his mix up. So you end up in like I don't know, like maybe just nerf the duration of his combos. Like his combos go on forever. Like so you'll sit for like a movie. He'll do his combo and he'll put you on the ground, and then he'll come back down and he'll tap your toes, and then you'll be back in the combo, and it's very frustrating. I think I would just look at something like how much damage he does. At least that way, like if you have to sit through the combos, at least you're not going to die on 2 hits. But yeah, that's what I think about slight nerfs. I think those characters just need a little tap. I don't think they need too much personally. I thought you could emergency nerf the 2 on top, which I'm going to talk about next, or you could slight nerf, leave them alone. But then these characters would just literally go up, and I think that it's good to kind of like try and bring everyone down, but you don't have to hammer these guys too hard. But I think the top 2 characters, I think these characters need the biggest changes in the entire game. They work very well with the system mechanics, which is obviously really good. My opinion on Nia has changed massively since my last tier list. I used to think she was like 3rd best in the game. I now would put her joint first with Sheik's. I think they're very similar in terms of strength. She has some weaknesses. I don't think Sheik's has any weaknesses. I think he's very strong. But I think the one thing that makes Nia I'm going to talk about these 2 together because I think these 2 characters are very similar in terms of strength. I think they're both very strong. But Nia, I think one thing they need to change. I think the one thing that makes her so bloody strong, other than her damage and her Oki, I think her Oki is very good. I think the fact you have to play around her invincible reversal so much, I think that really is the biggest strength of the character. Like, you have to always be looking out for it, and because she can kind of use it whenever she wants, as long as she has love redemption, that also is a strength. You know, she's not got any cooldown on the move, which is like absurd. So she can use it. Obviously, there is counterplay to the move, but the whole match you're playing around having to beat that move, and especially with a near player that knows how to play. If you're playing a near player that's on the lower ranks, I wouldn't worry about fighting a lower rank near. I just don't think they have the ability to threaten the DP as much as like a higher rank near. Higher rank nears can see you're trying to threaten it, and then they can play around you doing that. And so it's very much in their favor, and she does so much damage. So she's very weak to bravery counter, but if you're using bravery counter against her, if you're not killing her, then you're essentially putting yourself on a back foot. So I don't think it's necessarily a very good answer to near. I think it's just like, if you're going to win the game, and you can just bravery counter and get her off you. So, but I do think Nier is. I don't know how much I'd change about Nier, because I think she's a lot of fun, but I think that the DP is something they could change. I think maybe they could make it invincible instead of a counter. Get rid of the counter. That way, if you jump and safe jump and block it, you don't have to do the evade or anything like that. You don't have to play around it in that sense. It's just like a DP. I think if you block it, shouldn't be able to cancel it. Even on whiff, I think the move on hit. I think they should leave it as it is on hit. I think maybe they could reduce the damage. I don't think she should be doing 50%. Especially on a DP, but I do think I'd leave the combo there. I don't think I would take the combo away. I think the combo's fine. I just think it comes down to how much damage it takes. I think it comes down to the fact that you have to play around it so much. But I think the counter is her biggest strength, and I think that is the thing that needs to get hit the hardest. I think if you took that away from her, she would become much weaker. But I don't think she'd be weak at all in terms of like character strength. But I just think she'd be much weaker than she is. I don't think she'd be the best contention for the best character in the game. So I talk about Sheik's. I talk about Nier a little bit more because I feel like I understand the character a bit more because I played her a lot more. But Sheik's, I think this character, he has very high damage. He is very good at plus frames. He's got very good mix. He's got very good everything. This character is amazing. Anywhere on the screen, he has his projectile, which he doesn't. He can even commit to it or not commit to it. He's very quick. He's the quickest character in the game. Very, very, very good character. So, I don't know how to change this character. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea, but I know they need to nerf him. Damage nerf probably. Like, I think they need to change. So they need to work some magic because this character is. When you play a good Sheik's player, you really realize how strong this character is. Like. You see Nier doing like 50, 60% combos and all that, but Sheik's he is amazing. He's such an amazing character. Like he's so powerful. Like so when if you haven't faced like a super strong Sheik's, you'll understand. Like you have to really be on point because he's very strong. So but I know more about Nier, but Sheik's I have not really got a clue how I would change the character too much. But yeah. So there's two outliers on this list that aren't here because I actually couldn't find a list with them. But 2B and Lucilius, I think they're too new to really say too much about them, to be quite honest with you. But if you want me to just say it, just to be controversial, I think if we're going to put Lucilius anywhere on the tier list, I think I'd give him slight buff. And now, the reason I'd give him slight buff is one reason, and it's very similar to Avatar. And I'll take you to the game now, and I'll show you that. Right, this is one change I make, and I say it's similar to Avatar. It's because of how Avatar uses his ultimate, and he still uses his health and stuff like that. I genuinely would just give Lucilius the ability to gain guard meter off using ultimate attacks. I know these moves are amazing. He still has to deal with the cooldown, but he doesn't actually get any of the meter that builds him anything. So this generally is something I would do for Lucilius. I would just give him that. That is the. If you wanted me to give him a buff, that is the buff I give Lucilius because I think that's the only thing he really needs off the top of my head. The character is very new, so I don't think it's too fair to kind of really say too much about what Lucilius needs and what Lucilius doesn't need. But yeah, I think using ultimate skills, I think you should be giving his blade meter. You have to spend meter to kind of get him, even while these moves are super great. But yeah, that's all I do for Lucilius. Now for 2B, I'll go to 2B quickly. This character is very new, and I think a lot of people find her very polarizing. Now, she has these whiff cancelable moves and stuff, but I actually think this is just part of her. Like, if you look at this, like, if you take away, like, her whiff cancels, she'd lose this, and this is, like, I'm messing up, I haven't played her in a while. This is really funny. Like, I don't think they should take away the whiff cancels, because I just think they're fun. Like, for the character. She times them. I think this character is very, very strong. I don't know why a lot of people think she's not strong. She's the only character in the game with dash cancels as well, which I think is really strong. She gets her throw potentials. I don't know what I would do for 2B, but maybe they could give her a slight nerf. But I think it's way too early to be asking for nerfs for this, especially for this character. Lucilius, I think you can ask for buffs. He's been out since like January. So I think it's fine, but this character is way too new. So, but yeah, I do think she's strong though. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there today. So that kind of covers my list of what characters I think need buffs and nerfs. And as for, like I said, as for Lucilius or Lucifer and UB, if you want to say anything, I say slight buff to Lucilius and slight nerf to 2B. Don't know how I'd nerf 2B though, she's too new, but that's just for fun. But yeah, that is generally what I think. If you guys want to go in the comments and just tell me how wrong you think I am, or how right you think I am, or whatever, just please let me know. And yeah, we can have a discussion below. That's what I really want from this video. I want you guys to just discuss with me what you want. Just honestly, if you got the most outlandish thing in the game, don't know. Say you want UL to have a third arm with a extra sword, or and it gives a stupid range, to say it, like, because I think that would be brilliant. But yeah, that's the video, to be honest. That's all I wanted to do today. And then hopefully when Vayne comes, we can go over I'll go over the patch notes when it comes, because yeah, they said they were going to do patch notes. We'll obviously expect Vayne when he comes out. I'm more excited for Beatrix, I'll just say it right off the bat. I'm more of a Zeta Beatrix person than a Vayne person. Vayne Siegfried, or the Dragon Knights. But yeah, but when he comes, expect Vayne gameplay and all stuff about Vayne, but also expect me to cover the balance and go over it and see how different it was and stuff, and then we'll go from there. But that's it. That's it for today's video, and take care. Have a good one.